All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Hockey Hacks podcast, a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network and the official podcast of Left Wing Lock. I'm Devin Davidson, your host. Joining me tonight, Bruce Gunther, Tyler Homan, John Enns at some point, and friend of the show, special guest, Mike McLaughlin from Left Wing Lock. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Good to be back with you guys.
Of course, thanks for joining us. We're always excited to get you on. People love the episodes when you're always on with us. I think we had a little spike in downloads there, so we appreciate that.
Right on. That's great to hear.
Yeah, it's always good when you have smart people on the show.
God knows I'm not, so.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was speaking for myself there, but anyway, here we are, episode 47, NHL Week 18, waiver wire picks and preview. John's going to join us, I guess, at some point. I don't know exactly. He's having some technical difficulties, so he may just jump in at some point or not. We may not see him. So he's not here to defend himself, but we're going to add him to John's list for this week. He had something else he wanted to talk about, but we're putting him on the list. And I guess with that, we're going to... Well, before we jump into that, Bruce, my condolences to you and your Bengals.
Yeah, it was a really good game. It was gonna be close, but yeah, in the end they didn't win. But really can't feel too bad. You got guys on the other side like Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, who went through a lot of crap in Detroit and got traded to the Rams, and then you got OBJ, who basically got railroaded in Cleveland. And the Bengals lost, but I really don't feel too bad losing to the Rams. There's a lot of good stories on the other side there too. So Andrew Whitworth, who was a longtime Bengal too. Yep. He'll probably retire, 40 years of age.
Cooper Kupp
on an offensive line.
Cooper Kupp.
Like that's, Kupp as well. Like he had an incredible season.
Yeah. So
really, it's a tough loss for the Bengals, but I really can't feel too bad. It's a really good team on the other side. They're a really good team.
Yeah. Well, and as a Bengals fan, as you know, you that was probably exceeded your expectations, I'm sure, right? How many wins did they have last year?
2, 4, 2 wins the year before that. 4 wins last year, and then Super Bowl this year.
That's amazing.
That's quite the turnaround.
Absolutely
so,
amazing.
Like you said, you can't be too disappointed, right?
No, and most of the team will be back next season by the looks of it, so they can make another run at it.
Cool. Well, that's halftime show. I guess Tyler, you agreed with me. You thought it was good. Mike, I guess you missed it, and Bruce, you were kind of lukewarm on it.
Eminem was my favorite part of the halftime show, I'll have to say.
He did great, and honestly, I was a fan of Eminem. Tyler, you and I used to listen to Eminem. Well, he's right in our age bracket, right, where everybody's listening to him at our age. So
yeah, we used to listen to it in your Sunfire.
In my Sunfire, oh God, you had to bring that up, hey?
Yellow Sunfire. Listen to Eminem.
My sunflower, as you and Taylor used to call it.
Yeah, the sunflower.
The sunflower, yeah.
I mean, I had to ask my kid who 50 Cent was, so...
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, who's the guy hanging from the rafters?
Why is he upside down?
Why is he upside down? Yeah.
My kid's like, that's 50 Cent. I'm like, who is he?
Old man yells at clouds, hey? That's what was going on there. Oh, good stuff. Okay, well, let's move on then. We're going to kind of gloss over John's list for now, just given that he's not here. We'll start with Fantasy Lock of the Week for February 7th to the 13th. Presented by Left Wing Lock. And the lock this week is Patrick Liney from the Columbus Blue Jackets, 78% rostered. He had 7 points. 7 points, that's not accurate. He had 6 points, I think is what it was, including that game winner yesterday against Montreal. He's been hot lately. I'm just going to pull up his numbers here. He had 3 goals, 3 assists this week. With the game winner, like I said, 4 power play points and 75% power play share, basically. So, and 10 shots on goal in 3 games. So he was hot. Good to see there. Tyler, you gotta be happy with his production. I think you're the guy that owns him in our league.
That's right.
I've got him in
the comeback tour is strong with that one. I should mention, just for Tyler's benefit, he's on a new computer and he's trying to figure out how to use it. So if at some point we don't hear Tyler, that's why.
Don't even know what I'm doing here.
Oh, boy. Good stuff. Okay. Honorable mentions, Jeff Skinner And Bruce, you had tweeted something earlier today, 4 goals, 1 assist for Jeff Skinner.
He had quite the game today against Montreal. Although a couple of goals are pretty nicely gift wrapped by the Montreal defense, but take them anyway.
Yeah, he's been good. So 6 points in 2 games for him this week. 9 shots on goal. A +3 when you're playing for Buffalo. That's pretty good.
Definitely.
I think Tuck picked up 3 assists today too, so he continues to roll this season. And then the other guy I had here, well, I got 2 actually, but Blake Wheeler, 6 points, 2 goals, 4 assists, 1 game winner. He had a 5-point game yesterday against Nashville. And funny enough, Bruce, I sent that one trade to Grant, and I sent him. It was Wheeler and oh god, I can't remember who else it was. But anyway, I was gonna trade Wheeler yesterday because he kind of been, average, and he goes out and puts up 5 points. So I reeled back on that one a little bit.
He sent me a text after you sent him the trade. And I'm like, yeah, that's Devin. But that was before Wheeler put up his points.
Well, okay, to be fair though,
it was probably just the worst trade in the world.
No, you know what? Okay, here's what it was. It was Timo Meyer. it was Timo Meyer, Blake Wheeler, and Jeremy Swayman for Freddie Anderson. That's not a terrible trade? I mean,
it's not good.
Well, he's got
it's not great.
Top 2 players.
But that was the first offer I sent, so it's a starting point. I mean,
yeah. Keep in mind, Freddie Anderson is his only starting goalie on his team. He's got 2 backups now. He's got Kakinen from Minnesota, and he's got Swayman. That's his only goalies.
So, what we ended up settling on was Hintz and Swayman for Nugent Hopkins and Freddie Anderson.
Yeah, I told him he got fleeced.
Oh shit!
But he sent that trade to me.
Second deal.
He sent that trade to me.
He sent the second deal.
He sent the second deal.
I told him he was an idiot for sending it. I said, Devin will take that in a heartbeat.
And I sure did.
I would have vetoed the hell out of it.
I mean, it still could get vetoed. And I'm in first place in that league, so it might look like collusion, but I swear it wasn't.
It's getting vetoed. Anything you do is collusion, usually.
It is
How
not.
much, what was the cash considerations as well? What was the other part of it?
It was future cash considerations, to be determined.
Hey, so does that trade count?
You should delay this.
Does that trade count as a roster move
until the trade goes through?
Yeah, process is on Tuesday, so maybe we'll leave it until then.
If that trade counts as a roster move, buddy, that means you got 4 left for the season.
Does it actually count as a roster move? That can't be a thing.
Well, if it does,
I hope not.
You've got 4. You got 4 moves left for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm aware. Okay, well, we totally got sidetracked there. Sorry, guys. The other honorable mention I had for this week was Andrei Svechnikov. 6 points, 4 goals, 2 assists, 19 shots on goal in 4 games played. So another solid outing from him. And Tyler, that might be another guy you own too.
Who's that?
Svechnikov.
Oh, yep. Got him.
Mr. Svechnikov. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Got him.
Okay, so that's it. I mean, we're still without John here, so we're just going to move on to headlines with the Hacks, news and injury updates for February 7th to the 13th. Our partner, Left Wing Lock, Mike, thank you, has a complete up-to-date list available on his website for all players placed in COVID protocol. We've provided a link in the show notes, so if anybody wants to see that list, you can. That list has shrunk considerably, Mike. We were joking about this last week. At one point, you had that list up to like 130 players, and now it's down to 9 or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, it may be closer to like 5 or 6 now. And nice. All of the guys on that list are very close to coming off already. So
great. That makes us all happy as fantasy managers and hockey fans in general, I think, just to see that list dwindling.
Yeah, I can't wait to not have to update it.
I'm sure. All right, so this week, Jack Eichel was back at practice in a regular, or you can hit me jersey, as you said, Mike, on your tweet. I thought that was pretty good. So good to see him back at practice. It sounds like, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, he could be back as early as this week?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's doing all the right things that you would expect a guy in practice who's close, He's rotating in on line rushes. He's been on the top power play unit off and on in practice. And, these are the last steps right before he gets in game action. So I Maybe end of the week is what we're looking at here, I think.
Good stuff. Yeah, he's lots of fantasy managers been waiting for that, so that'll be nice to see. I'm curious to see what they do with the cap and the players they've got, who gets waived or traded, or what happens there. I mean, they're going to have to get creative.
There's
Mark
been
Stone is only one.
Sorry, go ahead, Bruce.
I was going to say, Mark Stone's only one WWE chair shot away from LTIR for the rest of the season.
That's what I've been hearing too. Is that it's going to be Stone that takes the hit.
Yeah, I did forget about that. So that was in the notes here somewhere that he's got a degenerative back disorder. Something along those lines is what they're calling it. So he may be done for the season.
There's a nice picture on my Twitter feed about it.
Yeah, I did appreciate that. Is it what's your handle again, Bruce?
At Bruce Gunther.
Bruce Gunther. So if anyone wants to check it out, it was quite funny. Mike Smith was also activated from IR this week, and Mikko Koskinen was placed in COVID protocol. Stuart Skinner was recalled. Smith wasn't great through his first 2 starts. I think he had an .850 something save percentage in both games, and then he looked great against the Islanders on Friday night. And I had to laugh because then Bruce promptly sent me a trade, Smith for Binnington.
Vultures, man.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because at work on Friday, Bruce goes, well, I said, well, maybe we can do this trade now. Like, Binnington's been awful because Huso started, I think, on Thursday. He goes, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with that guy. I said, well, maybe I'll trade you Mike Smith. And at that point, he 850 save percentage. He goes, yeah, we'll send the trade over. I'll think about it. I was like, well, I'm going to see what happens on Friday night. And if he gets shelled again, I'll probably trade him. But sure enough, he puts up a 970 save percentage and Bruce comes knocking.
Nice.
Yeah, and then Wheeler goes off for 6 points too, so that kind of blew that trade.
Yeah, because I sent you Wheeler and Smith, I think, for whatever at one point.
Yeah,
Anyway, sometimes you got to be lucky to be good. So, Bruins head coach Bruce Cassidy told the media on Monday that Tuukka Rask would not be practicing, and shortly after was announced that he was retiring. He wasn't going to continue with the team, and Jeremy Swayman was going to start against Pittsburgh. So, lots of changes in Boston. Patrice Bergeron should be back on Thursday here this week, I think, right, Mike?
That's what they're hoping, yeah. He's one of those upper body head / kind of unknowns.
Yeah, he had a laceration on his head is what someone said, and then obviously they didn't know if it was a concussion or not. So between that and Marchand being suspended for 6 games, that lineup is pretty depleted right now.
Yeah, I was thinking about that Rask thing a little bit when I saw your notes here, and it's not really funny, but it's interesting. I think the last time I was on the show, we talked about how the Bruins were trying to get Rask to play a couple of games in the AHL. And then the Providence, whatever they are, I guess they're the Bruins too, the Providence Bruins, they had a COVID outbreak. And so their games got canceled. And so instead of Rask just playing a few tune-up games in the AHL and probably realizing that it was time to retire, he ended up just going straight into the NHL, and Swayman got sent down, and we know all the rest now. But yeah, I think that's just kind of an interesting little twist to the story there, is that maybe if he had played those few games in the AHL, there would have been no disruption to the Bruins roster at all.
Well, and what I found odd about that was that he came back and I think the first game he was actually okay. He played fine, didn't he? Like it was a 3-2 win or something for Boston, and his numbers were good. And then he kind of fell off the rails after that. And everyone was preaching patience, right? Like the guy's coming back from hip surgery, it takes time, whatever. It's too bad. They showed a top 10 list of save percentages, and he was at number 2 or something behind Carey Price, I think was the list I saw. So he's a good one. It's too bad. It's a big loss for Boston.
The best goalie Toronto traded away.
Yeah, I saw that tweet too. That was pretty funny. Well, they traded away a few goalies, including Frederik Anderson.
Yes.
All right, PK Subban played in his 800th NHL game against the Ottawa Senators on Monday night. Austin Matthews left Monday's game against the Hurricanes with an upper body injury. He caught a knee to the back of his head. Scored 2 goals that game. He's fine. Played last night. The Maple Leafs required the fewest games in franchise history to reach the 30-win mark. They are humming along right now. Matt Dumba was placed in IR by the Minnesota Wild. Patty Maroon signed a 2-year contract extension with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it sounds like Nikolai Ehlers is still another 2 to 4 weeks away from returning for the Winnipeg Jets. Braden Holtby is back on the ice earlier this week, and he did play. I think he played today for Dallas, right? And they got shut out against Colorado 4-0. Jacob Verana was practicing in a no-contact jersey earlier this week, so expect him to be back soon. We're actually going to talk about Jacob Verana in our waiver wire ads later in the show. Casey Middlestad is week to week with an upper body injury. The Philadelphia Flyers named Daniel Briere special assistant to the general manager, and then proceed all of the office memes with Dwight. What a weird title to give to Danny Briere. For any office fans out there, I thought it was hilarious, but so there was probably about 50 memes I saw within 10 minutes of that announcement. They could have given him something a little better than that. That was pretty funny, but. With a goal against the Oilers on Tuesday night, Alex Pietrangelo reached 500 career NHL points in 844 games played. Former Edmonton Oil King Trey Fix-Wolanski scored his first NHL goal against the Washington Capitals. David Pastrnak scored his 15th and 16th goals since January 1st, which is the most by any player in the NHL. Good to see him get started back up again. The Marchand thing. So what was your take on that, Bruce? I know you weren't real impressed. I think you were more fired up about Marchand punching and then waving a stick at Jarry than I was. But
Well, and I think it's what Marchand said afterwards. Like, Jarry is well protected, right? He didn't hit him that hard. I think Jarry might have embellished that a bit, but the suspension is basically based on history.
Yeah,
he didn't actually hurt Jarry. Jarry got up, he played the rest of the game. So I don't know. That's a case there where, and I think Marchand's appealing now. I think I heard
he is. Yeah.
But it's just if it gets held up, it's just another dumb move by Marchand, which now is the most suspended person in the NHL. So.
Yeah, he passed Pronger. Eight individual suspensions.
It was just dumb, but it was just dumb, and Marchand admitted as much. It was just dumb. So
yeah. He got his wires crossed in that one. I don't know what he was so fired up about. I'm curious what Jarry said to him, because it looked like Jarry kind of shot back at him with something and got him a punch in the face. So that was interesting. With an assist against the Coyotes, JT Miller reached 400 career points, and then Miller went coast to coast later that night with a highlight reel goal. The Canucks won 4-1 in that game.
He should, after he hung him out to dry in that Calgary game a couple weeks ago.
Yep. Yeah, Vancouver's interesting, those guys. I think it's in the notes here for later, but we should just talk about it now, is Thatcher Demko. How good is he yesterday? 51 saves.
Really good. Really good.
Jeez.
Yeah, that guy's having an incredible season. It's too bad it's going to be wasted on what looks to be a non-playoff team, right?
Yeah. Well, especially if JT Miller gets moved at the deadline, right? There was some talk of that, because I don't know, Mike, Bruce, you guys might know better than I do the cap situation with Vancouver, because he's going to want $7 or $8 million a year, I think, and I don't think Vancouver can afford that. So,
well, he's one more season at 5.25.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was Kelly Rudy was saying that Thatcher Demko was no worse than the third best goalie in the NHL right now. I'd be curious. What's your take on that, guys? That's a hot take from Kelly Rudy.
Who would be the first two?
Well, Vasilevsky's got to be one.
I don't know if I'd give him that title this year.
And Freddie Anderson would probably be up there too, or Shesterkin.
Yeah. I'd probably put Anderson and Shesterkin before I'd put Vasilevsky up there.
Markstrom too. I think he has 7 shutouts on the year.
Eight now.
He's having a nice year.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, Tyler. Like maybe Markstrom and Shesterkin or Anderson. Those guys have all been incredible. Adam Fox was activated from injured reserve. Mike Sullivan said that he expected Evgeny Malkin to be available for Sunday's game, and he played today. Frank Savelli and Pierre LeBrun both reported on Wednesday that Montreal Canadiens head coach Dominic Ducharme was let go by the team. The Habs later announced that Martin St. Louis was hired as the interim head coach. What was you guys' take on that? Mike, I'd be curious to know St. Louis as a head coach. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I never liked him as a player. I remember, I think the Flyers faced him a few
John?
times, or at least, my John.
Is this John?
I know.
What's going on here?
So yeah, when I first heard his name, I was like, oh man, not that guy again. Yeah, I guess the biggest kind of question mark there is just this guy has no professional coaching experience, right?
Pee-wee. They said his most coaching experiences happened at the Pee-wee level.
So
And he was an assistant.
Oh God.
it
He
was
was an
just,
assistant too.
was he a special assistant to the.
He was a special assistant to the actual coach of an under 13 team.
So yeah, to me that's really interesting to see. I mean, these are essentially multi-million-dollar companies, right? You don't see Ford, or Coca-Cola going down to somebody who graduated college with a degree in sociology and saying, all right, you've been in the workforce for a few years as a therapist. We want you to come in and, run our company.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. He might be good. Who knows? It might work out perfectly for them, but this is a very strange move. I mean, I guess there's not much at risk. The Montreal Canadiens suck, and they're in last place, and
Yeah.
they're going to stay in last place. But I don't get it. I don't understand the move at all, actually.
He's only signed through the end of the season, so I guess to see how the experiment goes and see what happens at the end of the season. One thing that's been different is Cole Caulfield's got 2 points in 3 games now since St. Louis taken over behind the bench.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he got bumped up to the top line for today's game.
Well, Tyler, to your point, you've made it many times over the past few weeks, is that new coach bounce. It's an actual thing, right? And it's not always long term. It might last for a few games, but I mean, it seems to be working in Edmonton right now.
Yeah, and I wonder too if they hired St. Louis just to have a kind of a French guy there.
I'd agree.
Somebody who's a popular name, and they can still stay in last place till the end of the year, and they can do both of those things all in one with hiring him. So
yeah,
because
more tickets.
They've had an assistant coach who's been there a long time, right? Luke Richardson.
Yes.
Yep.
And I've heard his name pop up a few times when talking about coaching openings, and so it's a little interesting that maybe he didn't get the interim tag.
Maybe they were worried they might actually win some games. Didn't want to give him the job. Let's get the special assistant to the real head coach in there.
Oh, maybe like you said before, maybe St. Louis is the plan to get him through the end of the season, and then Richardson takes over at the beginning of the next season.
Well, yeah, like just get that first overall draft pick and then worry about head coaching later.
Because if you put Richardson in now and they shit the bed for the rest of the season, then it's like, well, at the end of the season, you got to almost have to let Richardson go, right? Where if you take St. Louis in there, well, yeah, the experiment didn't work, but you know what? We got Richardson here. We'll make him coach. And
Yep. Sorry for our listeners here. John just jumped onto this here. John, we can hear you. You're a little bit muffled there.
I think you got a bigger forehead than I do. Oh,
yep, and he's
he didn't like that.
again.
He's gone.
Okay, no, we hurt his
I'm on
feelings.
the list.
You were already on the list, so that's okay. All right, let's get back to the news here. Mark Stone missed Wednesday's contest against the Flames with an upper body injury. Head coach Peter DeBoer later told the media it was a lingering back issue like we talked about earlier. And now we're hearing reports he's done for the season, which fits in nicely with the Jack Eichel thing. As we alluded to earlier, the Edmonton Oilers finally parted ways with head coach Dave Tippett. Bakersfield Condors head coach Jay Woodcroft will assume coaching responsibilities for the Oilers. After that 4-0 loss to Vegas earlier in the week, I wondered if that was the game that they were finally going to do it. Like, just to see the way Tippett stormed off the bench, I wonder if someone told him, maybe it was Holland, but like if you lose another game, if you get beat down badly, like that's going to be it. Like you're on thin ice. And he probably already knew that. But I mean, he looked particularly miffed when he left the ice that game.
Yeah, they didn't even show up for that game. Nobody did.
No,
it was an awful game.
Do you think, Tyler, this is a case of a team just needing a new to me when you watch the Oilers play, like when they got shelled against Vegas and they lost games before that, but they all just looked like they weren't interested. And then you watch McDavid and Draisaitl, like basically the entire team play on Friday nights. I know it's one game, but they all looked a lot different to me.
I think the biggest thing is the lineup deployment. So I think all the players know, like if you're down a goal or two, well, you pretty much already know you're going to let in the first two. And then when that happens, Draisaitl and McDavid are going to play together, and they're going to play 25 minutes. And if they don't do anything, they're going to lose. And then you see in the game on Friday, they had everybody spread out. I think they need one more top 9 winger to play with Nugent Hopkins on the third line to actually be a little bit dangerous. But when you spread that out and spread out the ice time to everybody, seeing at the end of the game, they were still pushing. Every line was pushing because everybody still had gas left in the tank. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing, because Tippett he seemed really stubborn with his lineup deployment. So I think this will be the biggest change.
Yeah, I can't remember. How were the lines set up? Because Nuge was playing with Hyman for a couple games there, right? Was he playing with Hyman again Friday night?
I think he was with
Hyman
Fogel
Right.
and I can't remember. Oh, Derek Ryan.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Not good at all.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's right, because Hyman went back to go play with McDavid, didn't he, on the left?
That's
Yeah.
right. And yes.
Okay. Interesting. Keep an eye on that situation, I guess. All right. John, we're going to try this again. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, and you sound like your regular self.
Wow. That no, for your information, that is not my new computer working. I have to run this week off my laptop since my mic's not in yet, so
Okay.
yeah, no, it almost went in the garbage, and the phone almost went in the garbage, and yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Oh, this week's member of the list is electronics in general.
Okay.
Straight up.
That's good. Quick and dirty electronics.
Yeah.
You should have an IT guy there,
Oh,
John.
I know.
I thought you were the IT guy.
Me?
I am.
That's
Bruce.
I sell parts.
Yeah, Bruce, you don't live that far from him.
No, about 20
Make that
minutes.
drive.
15, 20 minutes.
Okay, well, John, thanks for joining us, buddy. Good to have you.
Okay,
Austin
where are we?
Matthews. We're at Austin Matthews playing on Thursday after taking a knee to the head earlier in the week. Kucherov is back in the lineup for the Tampa Bay Lightning on Thursday. Marcus Foligno was suspended 2 games for hitting Jets forward Adam Lowry. Kind of a dumb play there. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but I mean, there's no love lost between those two teams. It's always interesting when Minnesota and Winnipeg play. They hate each other. There's usually lots of goals scored. It's fun to watch. Duncan Keith is going to be out of the lineup 2 to 4 weeks with upper body soreness. I didn't actually see the hit. Tyler, did you see that one? He apparently just got clobbered.
He blew a tire,
Yeah,
I think, and just went in
just
head first.
hard. Yeah,
Yeah, it looked rough.
Yeah.
I think I was shoveling
Like he
6
went
feet
to
of snow from my house, and I was listening to it on the radio, but I didn't catch that play. So
Yeah, you guys have got lots of snow. Ours is gone.
yeah, no, it was stupid. Yeah. Anyway, Zach Cassian out 4 to 8 weeks as well with a fractured jaw from that same game. I don't think we're gonna miss him that much. I know you won't, Tyler.
Nope.
What else? Oh, okay. So back to Jack Eichel here. Greg Wyshynski reported that Eichel could return either February 16th versus Colorado or February 18th against the Kings. So just going back to that question I had for you earlier, Mike. I forgot we had that in the notes. There it is.
It depends how quickly they can get Stone with that chair shot to take his back out for the rest of the season.
Yep. Make some cap room. This one is kind of a point of contention. I think this is ridiculous, but the Arizona Coyotes are confirmed to play at ASU's 5,000-seat arena for at least the next 3 seasons. And
They aren't going to sell it out anyway, so does it matter?
I just think it's embarrassing that a professional hockey league is going to be playing in a 5,000-seat arena. And I think that, the optics of it are terrible, first off. And yeah, okay, the financial models might suggest that they can make more money in a 5,000 seat arena at ASU. But like the owners are pissed about this around the league. Because it makes the league look Mickey Mouse when you've got a team that's floundering like that, playing at a university stadium, and Gary Bettman still refuses to make any changes.
Yeah. Well, I read somewhere like when it comes to revenue sharing and that, Arizona's already at the max, so they're not getting any more money for this. So all they've done here is they've just reduced their overhead costs. Yep. So they will have access to more money, but they're never going to sell out a 5,000 seat arena anyway. So
no, they won't.
It doesn't really matter. They could play in my Osler rink down the street here, and they still couldn't sell out the bleachers that are here. So
yeah,
I
that
don't
basically takes the whole fun out of the hockey game, I think. To me, the whole point of an NHL game is for the hockey, but also the atmosphere. And yeah, don't get me wrong, you're going to have 5,000 people in a 5,000 capacity arena. It'll be electric, but it's still not for a professional sports team.
They might have 2,500 people, John, in a 5,000 seat arena.
Yeah, like
they'll be lucky if they have 500 people.
You know what's kind of sad about this too is like as I lived in the Western United States, I don't know, like a decade ago or something, and I used to go down to a couple of games a year in Glendale, not to see the Coyotes, but to see their opponents, usually the Flyers. But one particular year, I think it was 2012, but it doesn't matter what year it was. The Blackhawks were in the playoffs against the Coyotes, and I got tickets. I was right behind the bench of the Chicago Blackhawks, and man, it was amazing to be at a game like that. I never would have dreamed I could go see a playoff hockey game, let alone be like on the first row, and at center ice, and the crowd was amazing. So it's pretty sad because, like I said, every time I went down to Arizona for one of those games, the arena was nice. Everyone working there was nice. If you got the fancy tickets, they had great food and drinks. Some of that was complimentary. I really enjoyed every game I saw in Arizona, or in Glendale specifically. So it kind of sucks to see, just 10 years later, they're going to be, playing in front of a few thousand fans instead of, 18,000 screaming fans, at least for a playoff game,
And I guess, I should mention for anyone that hasn't been following, the whole idea behind it is they want to try and build a big arena in Tempe, right? Is the thought. So, yeah. I mean, but for 3 seasons, that's quite a stretch to be playing there.
Well, at the rate the Coyotes are going, they're not going to have a great team by then anyway. So,
well, no, and that's part of their long-term plan. So maybe in 5 years they'll have a good team. They'll be in a new arena.
Austin Matthews will be there.
Yep.
Matthews will be. They're taking the Edmonton Oilers strategy. See how many first overall picks you can get in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
That's the only way they're going to get players. So
probably, other than Austin Matthews.
Yep.
All right, Mike, your boy Sean Couturier is done for the season. Unfortunate, he had back surgery on Friday morning, so things go from bad to worse in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks he's got to get surgery, but I'm glad the decision was already made and just, shut him down, get him healthy. This season's, garbage anyway, so let's see how 2022-23 goes.
I'm sure it'll be better. I'm sure. Don't worry, Mike. Don't panic.
I'm not terribly convinced yet.
Capo Caco is expected to be out for at least another month with an upper body injury. With a goal against the Islanders, Zach Hyman reached his 100th career NHL goal. Nathan McKinnon returned from injury on Sunday, I think. Was he back today? I believe so.
Yeah, he did play today.
John Klingberg suffered an upper body injury. He's questionable for Sunday. I wasn't able to update this. Did anyone know, did he play today? John Klingberg?
He did not play.
He did not.
With his 3rd game-winning goal of the season, Moritz Seider has 32 points through 47 games. That's the 6th most by a rookie in Red Wings franchise history. He's been pretty fantastic. John, I don't think even you could add him to the list.
Nope. He's been solid. Not gonna deny that one.
Okay. We already talked about Thatcher Demko. Excuse me. And we talked about Blake Wheeler. Kyle Connor scored his 300th career NHL point with a goal against the Nashville Predators. Jesper Bratt is considered day-to-day with an upper body injury. Austin Watson was suspended for 2 games for interference on Bruins D-man Jack Ucken. The Canadiens placed Ben Schrott in IR with lower body injury. He was a major trade target for a lot of teams, so I guess it doesn't sound like it's long-term, though. Hey, Mike, it's just going to be about a week.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. And we mentioned earlier off the top, Jeff Skinner scored 4 goals, 5 points against the Canadiens. Montreal's 10th straight loss. And that is it, guys, for Headlines with the Hacks. Probably a good time now to tell our listeners that the Fantasy Hockey Hacks podcast is a proud partner of NHLShop.ca, the best source for all your officially licensed NHL apparel and merchandise. Follow the links in our show notes or on our website. Save up to 50% on select apparel now and get free shipping on orders over $99. Use promo code NHLFS99 at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details. Full disclosure, Fantasy Hockey Hacks may receive a small commission for your purchase, which helps us to continue providing original content and fuel Tyler's gambling habits, which, Tyler, we have not talked about in a couple weeks. What's the latest? You got some good stories to tell us?
It's not good. It's bad. It's all bad.
Just straight up.
Everything's been bad.
Just nothing, eh?
Yeah, it's been bad.
Did you put a little sprinkle on the Super Bowl?
I did. I did. I did the old parlay again. I screwed everything up. I shouldn't have did it. I got the Rams right though, so there's
That's
that.
good.
Okay.
Still lost my
Did you
money,
get the
Man, you just can't help
Did
yourself.
you get the Matthew Stafford interception?
No, I was trying to parlay that actually with everything else, but they wouldn't. I gotta stop doing that.
Poly parlay, hey? That's just, yeah.
Parlay, I'm the worst.
Can't help it. It's an addiction. It's an addiction.
Yeah, it's one of those things where 2 out of 3 really isn't good. It's bad.
Okay, good stuff. One day I hope you have a good story to tell us. I look forward to that day.
Saving up for it.
Yeah, and then maybe a round of golf is on you or something.
Yeah.
Oh, Bruce, I forgot what that guy sent you, that picture we were talking about. I can't remember his name, but Buddy bet $4.5 million on the Bengals to win. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
So Sportsnet
Wow.
Sportsnet Bets, that account on Instagram, shared that post. $4.5 million he put on the Bengals.
Even I wouldn't do
Would have
that.
paid out nicely if they would have won.
Well, sure. That's like any bet. Just ask Tyler.
Yeah, it doesn't always work like that.
Okay, good stuff. Let's move on to Fact or Fiction. Of course, we look forward to this. We do it about once a month. I've read through the notes here already, obviously, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say. So, got some different scenarios here that are interesting. Might hurt Bruce's feelings based on the first team you're going to talk about here, but let's get into it. Take it away, Mike.
All right. So for this fact or fiction section, again, we look at a few scenarios around the NHL, and we try to come up with an idea of whether or not these teams and or players can keep going at their current pace. And so first up, we're going to look at a team this week, and that's the Minnesota Wild. And right now, the Wild are in great shape. Third place in the Central Division heading into this weekend. They had the second best points percentage in the Western Conference. They've won just over 70% of their games this season. And so because of that, their goalies, of course, also have strong winning percentages. And so the question I want to pose is, can you rely on a similar production from the Minnesota Wild in the second half? And if you own Talbot or Kokkonen, are you going to see a strong win percentage in the second half? And so I looked at these goalies individually, and they both come in at about 67% for their winning percentages. And, that's really nice. Tyler just mentioned 2 out of 3 is not always good. But in fantasy hockey, if you can put your goaltender in your roster with the odds of him winning 2 out of 3 games that week, that's perfect. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. I think Samsonov had a 90% win percentage for the first 2 months of the season, but now he hasn't won, in forever. So that's where Minnesota's at. 2 out of 3. You're going to get a win if you put those Minnesota goalies in net. And so I'd like to look at some team level metrics and some goalie level metrics for the Wild, and we'll decide whether or not this can continue. So first up, if you look at the penalty kill save percentage for both Talbot and Kakkonen, they're coming in at about .890 for their penalty kill save percentage. Now the league average on that, which is what most goaltenders will trend toward as they face more and more shots, is just .865. So this tells us that the Minnesota goalies are stopping more shots than they should be on the penalty kill. And it's to the tune of about 5 goals so far in the first half of the season. Now, that may not sound like a lot, and it is, in reality, that is not a lot. It's just 5. But 5 goals in the NHL is almost equivalent to a full win. So that's 2 points in the standings that the Wild have just because they're getting lucky on the penalty kill. Next up, if you jump to their team stats, this is where things get really interesting. If you look at the Minnesota Wild and how often they put the puck in the net on even strength shots, that number is 10.2%. Now, across the league, you're usually going to see something closer to about 8.3, 8.5% for a league average. And what's weird about the Wild is that they did this last season too. Their even strength shooting percentage was actually a little bit higher. It was 10.3% last season. And again, that was a shortened season, just 56 games, I think. So for about 100 games now, the Wild have maintained this, unsustainable shooting percentage. And I'm counting on that going down. So if you make a rough assumption here, I'm going to say, suppose Minnesota finishes the season at 9.5% for their shooting percentage instead of the current pace at 10.2. That's going to cost them another 12 or 13 goals. So they've already lost 5 goals if you adjust for the penalty kill. Now they're going to lose another 12 or 13 goals if you adjust for how lucky their team has been at shooting the puck. And so now, in addition to the 1 win they've already lost, they're going to lose another 2.5 wins from these 12 to 13 goals. And so this starts to kind of creep up, right? These starts to kind of add up. And, with 3.5 fewer wins in the second half, that means both Talbot and Kakkonen are going to have fewer wins in the second half. And so one last thing for the Minnesota Wild, and this is, again, a luck issue. The Wild spend 5.65 minutes per game on the penalty kill. And for reference, that's the 3rd highest number in the league. So they're on the penalty kill tops in the league. And they've only allowed 1 shorthanded goal against. So I went and I looked at the different stats for all the teams that have similar penalty kill minutes across the full season so far. And all of those teams have let in somewhere between like 3 and 4 shorthanded goals against. So again, that's another little factor. Again, all these little things start to add up. You see they've got a lucky penalty kill save percentage. They've got a lucky shooting percentage, even strength. And when they are shorthanded, they haven't given up a lot of goals against. Or sorry, when they're on the power play, rather. Sorry. So putting all that together, what I'm looking at for the Minnesota Wild is that in the second half of the season, their winning percentage is going to drop. And I've calculated that to be about 58% winning percentage in the second half compared to a first half rate of 70%.
Trade everybody. Trade them all.
Trade them all.
That's what I was asking Mike before the podcast. Do I got to trade all my Wild players away?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of drop off in scoring, so there's a little bit of trouble there. But I'm more concerned about the goalies in this case. If the scoring dips a little bit and the penalty kill save percentage dips a little bit, now you're looking at 2 goalies who are, instead of being ranked in the top 8 for win percentage. They fall down to about the 17-18 range in the league.
Yeah, so we've got a listener question, Mike, when we get to Ask the Hacks, just about the Minnesota Wild, one player in particular. Because the Minnesota Wild they've got 39 games left, which is second amongst all teams.
Yeah.
Between now and the end of the season. So that's unfortunate news if you're invested in the Minnesota Wild right now. Especially from a goaltender perspective.
Yeah, and again, this is there's no overall worry here. The Wild they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be fine. But I do predict a second half drop off for them.
Okay, good stuff. That's really interesting because they've been so hot.
Let's do Edmonton next. Do Edmonton.
Well, so Tyler, I think you missed it, or maybe you just got that. But what was you're working on something for some playoff predictions, Mike, right?
Oh, right. So we started calculating playoff probabilities for each team in the NHL, and your Edmonton Oilers right now are coming in at about 46% as of Sunday morning.
Hey, one out of two isn't too bad.
Yeah,
I just said so. You're telling me there's a chance.
Man.
Yeah, well, that whole West is kind of really tight, right? With Edmonton and Dallas and Anaheim.
We'll take those odds right now, Mike. We'll take those odds.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Unfortunately.
So for this next case, I think I heard Devin say you tried to trade this player, Timo Meyer. And I'm going to recommend that you try again. So
not to one of us, though. It's not happening now.
Yeah.
So Timo Meyer. So he's owned in vast majority of leagues. It's like 92% as of this weekend. He has 47 points in 41 games, on pace for 94 points over the full season, and that would be his best season of his career. And so the question I pose is, can you expect that same production from Timo Meyer in the second half? So we'll look at two things here. We'll look at how Timo Meyer is being used and his behavior. And then we'll also look at luck to see if we can arrive at a reasonable decision here. So first up, Timo Meyer has awesome shot production this year, 4.1 shots per game. Phenomenal jump over his career average of 3.0. He's almost doubled the number of power play shots per game that he takes. And he's seeing almost 2.5 minutes on the power play every night. So everything looks good for Timo Meyer when you look at his own behavior and how his coach is using him. So things look good so far. But then you look at the luck metrics real quick. He's got a slightly higher than normal shooting percentage for Timo Meyer. It's at 12.5%. His individual points percentage is high. It's coming in at 80%. Usually for Meier, that number is about 73. The Sharks score on 10.8% of their shots when Meier is on the ice. And Meier's career average for that number is 7.9%. And then finally, if you look at Timo Meier's assist rates, this is where things are really crazy for him. He is averaging 1.12 secondary assists per 60 minutes. And that is 115% higher than his career average. It's more than double. And his primary assist rate is also 1.12 assists per 60 minutes. And that's about 72% higher than his career average. So that's the red flag for me is those assist numbers.
That's huge. Yeah.
Because especially the secondary assists, those are not really driven by the player himself. Well, let me qualify that. The big changes from your career average are not driven by the player himself. And so that's what has me worried about Timo Meyer in the second half is his assist rates are off the chart, and those changes from his career average are usually luck driven. So in the second half, I would expect a pretty significant drop-off from Timo Meyer. And I would recommend if you own Meier in fantasy leagues that that you look into options for trading him.
So Wyatt, if you're listening, because Wyatt is a coworker of ours and he's asked this question to us already. There you go, buddy. There's your answer. Trade Meier. And doesn't look good for my Timo Meyer prospects for the remainder of the season. So thanks, Mike.
So when I was preparing these notes a couple days ago, I realized I haven't put too many positive spins on this. It's always been, hey, this looks good, but you're going to get screwed. That's what I've been saying every time. But I've got a new one for you guys. We're going to turn this one around. I'm going to show you a player who is underperforming and who I think will have a pretty nice second half. And this is a very good buy low candidate if you're looking to make a trade right now in your fantasy leagues. So hopefully I say his name right. I guess I should have looked this up. So Brock Besser, I believe is how he says his last name.
That is accurate. Nailed it.
So he's owned in about 75% of leagues right now and is on pace for just 49 points. That's the lowest output of his entire career. And so let's do what we did with Timo Meyer. We'll look at how Besser is being used and what his behavior looks like, and then we'll look at the luck metrics to see if we can find some kind of indication on what to expect. So as far as his behavior and usage goes, it's pretty much in line with his most recent seasons. He's taking 2.9 shots per game. That's his career average. He's got just under 1 shot per game on the power play. That's what he usually does each season. He is over 3 minutes on the power play each night. And his zone starts are off the chart at almost 60% offensive zone starts. So this is what you want to see from a forward in fantasy hockey. Almost 3 shots, over 3 minutes of power play, and he starts, 60% of his shifts in the offensive zone. Now, if you're looking for into the luck metrics here, this is where things get kind of juicy. So his shooting percentage is low compared to his career. It's coming in at just 10.6% compared to his 13% average. His IPP is more or less in line with his career number, so nothing there. The Vancouver Canucks going into this weekend were connecting on just 4.1% of the shots they took with Besser on the ice. Now, a lot of people aren't kind of familiar or comfortable with what those numbers should be. You usually want to see that number to be about 8.5% is the league average on that number. But Besser's number is actually quite higher for his career. It comes in at 10.6. But what's really interesting about Besser's 4.1 number is that of all the players in the NHL who have played 40 games this season, Besser has the lowest team even strength shooting percentage in the entire league. It's the worst number in the league. And that just doesn't make any sense if you think about it. Like, there's no reason why when Besser is on the ice, the Canucks suck. And so we know that's a nice factor for Besser right there. And then finally, if you look at his assist rates, he's got a secondary assist rate that is only half of his career average. And his primary assist rate is about half of his career average. So huge swings here for the luck metrics on Besser. His team is not scoring when he's on the ice, and when they do score, he doesn't get assists on those goals. It's that double whammy. I always love to find something like this in a fantasy hockey player, because once the team, kind of turns it around a bit and starts scoring those goals, not only is he going to get points from those, he's going to get the assists as well. So that's my guy. I'm looking for Besser to jump from a 49-point pace in the first half to a 66-point pace in the second half.
So a good buy low opportunity, like you said earlier. And this fits really nice, actually, with a couple of questions, both Besser and Meier. We had some listener questions that were related to both of those. So we'll go through those here in a second. But that's good stuff. Guys, any other comments, thoughts on fact or fiction? Besser, Meier? Do you want to trade for him? Bruce, I can send him to you.
Sending trade requests for my Minnesota goalies.
You can get this deal done on the air.
Live right now.
Best time to do it.
Nope. Okay, well, that's awesome, Mike. Thank you very much for doing that. I thought that was great. That's really interesting. It's going to be something our listeners are very interested in because they've already asked about it several times. So should be helpful for them. I hope you guys appreciate it. And I guess too, just before we leave the segment, we should let listeners know if they want to submit some of their own fact or fiction requests, we can send those to you, Mike, and you'll be happy to kind of look at them on a case by case basis.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know Tyler wants the Edmonton Oilers. Next.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what that would be too. So
Trash.
I'm waiting.
All right, perfect. Let's move on then to the next segment here. Ask the Hacks.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. And I want to have them answered immediately.
Starting with, would you trade John Carlson for Brent Burns?
Boo.
No.
And I also said no.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. I actually gave the listeners sort of the more in-depth explanation as to my thought process on it. But Mike, I'd be curious to know what your feeling is on that. John Carlson for Brent Burns.
Yeah, I don't like it. When I looked at the numbers earlier this afternoon, it actually was much closer than I expected. And depending on their league, Burns has a bit of an edge in both shots and blocks. But even if it's close, the one thing that worries me about the Sharks in general is a Thomas Hertl going to be there in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks. Is Hertl still going to be on that roster? And if he's not, I don't think that's very good news for the guy running the power play.
No, definitely not. Okay, good. A bit longer question here. I'm going to need to make some room for Eichel on my active roster. In your opinion, who should I drop, Lucas Raymond or Brock Besser? Raymond had a big night last night, but lately has been in a bit of an offensive slump despite playing with Larkin. To be honest, I think I've benched him more times than I've played him in the past few weeks. Besser can be streaky, but I believe Vancouver has more games in hand than the Wings. So I looked it up. I think at the time of writing, they both had roughly 34 games left on the schedule, Detroit and Vancouver. So there's not really a schedule advantage either way. And I think now Raymond is up to 4 points in his last 6 games played. I mean, I was kind of, before talking about Besser here and seeing what Mike's thoughts were, I kind of actually was leaning towards Lucas Raymond, but I've got Lucas Raymond in a couple leagues. I like what I'm seeing from him. I think Dylan Larkin is having such a fantastic season that Lucas Raymond stuck next to him on the wing. He's been really good. He's been very productive. So, but Mike, what's your take on that? If you're going Lucas Raymond or Brock Besser for the remainder of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I like Besser because of a lot of those luck metrics I just mentioned. I think he's got a nice second half ahead of him. But for me, anytime a trade seems kind of close for me, one of the things I use as my tiebreaker is their shot production. If you're shooting the puck, you're going to end up getting goals. And if you don't end up getting goals, you're going to end up getting assists from rebounds or, whatever happens. And so I think shots is always a great tiebreaker. And Besser, he takes 2.9 per game, and Raymond's at 2.1.
Okay. Bruce, Tyler, John, any other input on that?
I was just gonna say, I'd take Besser in that one. Sorry, I would drop Raymond. I would keep Besser. Yeah, just looking at the numbers, and like Mike said there, I think he'll have a good second half, and I don't know. I want a bigger sample size out of Lucas Raymond yet.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's move on to the next one here. Who do you like more for the rest of the season, Ivan Provorov or Evan Bouchard? I think of the 4 Oilers fans on this podcast, it's not even really close. We've got one Flyers guy on the podcast too here, so yeah, for me, decidedly it's Evan Bouchard. But I'll open the floor to you guys. What do you think?
I think it's interesting with Woodcroft's first game. Bouchard only played 13 minutes, just over 13 minutes. He was playing 22, 24, 20 minutes before that. If that, I don't know why the ice time would go down, but if it does, Provorov would probably be the pick, but Bouchard already has 9 goals this year too, which was pretty surprising looking at that. So,
Well, Woodcroft said after the game, they played 7D in that game too, so he didn't, other than CC, nobody played more than, like CC played 25 minutes and nobody else played more than 16 after him.
Oh, is that
So
the one they had
used all
Broberg in
7.
there?
Yeah, they played Broberg
And
too.
Niemelainen.
and Niemelainen.
I love Niemelainen, man. Like, he hits everything.
Yeah. Yeah, we all do, and it's only because we don't have anybody else like that. But yeah,
But it's good to see somebody play that, like, actually steps up and is physical and will make those plays. Like, we haven't had anyone like that for a long time.
yeah, he wants to hit everything, and it's nice to see.
Yeah.
Very nice to see.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I'm gonna disagree with you guys. I'm gonna say Provorov.
Okay.
You would.
You would.
Absolutely.
You're on the list. But why? Tell me why.
Yeah, you gonna add to that, or are you just gonna leave?
No, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think he's more of my type of defenseman. Yeah, Bouchard's all right, but like you say, he only played 15 minutes last game. 7 defensemen or not. Provorov's averaging 25 minutes a game.
Got to get those shifts.
Exactly.
Gotta get those.
There you go. Gotta
friggin'
use
shifts.
No, I just think Provorov's getting more opportunity there, and he's had a good season, and I think it's going to continue.
I'll go back to Mike's thing about shots. So Bouchard has 109 shots in the season so far. Provorov has 82. Even strength points. Bouchard's got 19. Provorov's got 12. I mean, just looking at point production and stuff like that, it's not really close for me. But, and I'd have to look. Like, Mike, do you know where is Philly at in terms of goals for per game and their special teams? Like, I don't think it's very good.
It's not.
No,
I don't even know the numbers off the top of my head, but yeah, they're not good.
Okay, since January 1st, I got this pulled up here. Philly is at 31st at 2.25 goals for per game.
I believe
January
it. I mean,
1st.
they've got. I think it's Scott Lawton is the number 1 center right now.
Yuck.
Yeah,
No disrespect to Scott Lawton, but
Oh yeah, I really love Scott Lawton. He's a great 3rd or 4th line player.
but he shouldn't be your first line
He
center.
shouldn't be your first line center.
Edmonton's at 2.64 goals for per game for reference there.
I think that'll go up too.
Yeah, I agree. And the power play, Edmonton's at 18.8%. Philly's at
Which I think
12.8.
will go up.
So I mean, John, hey, it's always good if we disagree. It's better, in fact. But I will disagree with
Much
you on this
better.
one.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Bruce?
Oh, I was just going to say Evan Bouchard to double down after the Provorov stuff I threw out last week, so I thought I would just double down and go with that.
Perfect. Okay. Should I start seeing what I can get for Brad Marchand? Non-keeper, redraft league. I saw this question come up a couple different times. I don't really understand the logic behind it because, I mean, people are getting upset because while he's 6-game suspension, you know, I can't even put him as NA and get him off my active roster. I mean, it's 6 games at worst. If he appeals it and it's 3 or 4, is it really a huge issue for you right now in February? Like, we're still weeks from the trade deadline. We're a long ways from playoffs. Unless you're really desperate for wins right now, I don't think you move Brad Marchand. He's been one of the best point producers in the league over the last 3 years. He covers hits. He covers PIMs. He scores shorthanded goals. Takes a lot of shots. Plays on a good line. Like, there's lots of things to like about Brad Marchand. I don't know. Tyler, what's your take on it?
I'd keep him. I don't know why I would look at doing anything with him. I think I don't think that suspension is going to be reduced at all. I think if he didn't go back with the spear to the chin, he probably could get it reduced, but it's not going to happen. But you're going to have him there for fantasy playoffs. Just bank on having him there for that. Don't get rid of him. You're not going to get full value for him anyways. You're going to end up losing that trade.
I would agree.
Yep.
Any difference of opinion on that one from Bruce or Mike?
Not for me.
Nope.
No, looking at these trades, there's two sides to it, right? There's the one side of, hey, I want to trade Brad Marchand. I don't know why, but let's say you accept that. You want to trade Brad Marchand. For who?
Yeah.
Like what? How are you going to get a guy who gets over 3 shots per game, over 3 power play minutes per game? Like you said, Devin covers penalty minutes. You're not going to get value. You're going to lose. Like Tyler said, that's a trade you are going to lose.
There's not a lot of guys.
Talbot.
There's not a lot of guys that even if he doesn't score or get an assist, he's still going to get penalty minutes and do something else.
Yeah.
At the same rate as a high-end scorer would. So there's no way to win that.
He's kind of a rare breed, right, in terms of category coverage and production.
Yeah.
The only way I can see it, and even then, not really, is just in terms of the schedule. If there was a decided advantage in terms of the schedule, but I don't think there is, right? You'd have to be big, and I don't think there's that much of a gap right now. So, yeah.
The Minnesota goalie tandem, they got 39 games left.
Enough
for both.
You try and swindle us off air, buddy. Okay, next question here. What do you think of Klingberg and Toffoli for McTavish and McMichael in a keeper league?
What kind of a keeper league?
I don't think the
Like,
listeners...
is it like a dynasty one, or is it redraft, or...
I think it was a dynasty, Bruce. I'm not totally sure. I have to go back and look through the messages there, but I said no.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
And for a couple of reasons, like McTavish, I think has some upside in Anaheim on a younger team, but McMichael, like by the time that guy's good and he's playing lots of minutes, where's Washington going to be? Where's Ovi going to be? Where's Backstrom going to be? Where's Oshie going to be? John Carlson is getting up in age, right? Their goaltending situation is kind of a mess. Like they're in win now mode, and McMichael is playing like 12 or 10 minutes a game. So in the short term, it definitely doesn't help you. It's more of a very long-term play, in my opinion. And unless you're in a dynasty league, like you said, Bruce, where you're planning to, like if you're down in the standings and you're giving up on your season and you're planning to win in the next, say, 3 to 5 years, and that's your plan, yeah, maybe make that deal. But I mean, Klingberg, his value is going to go up if he gets moved. I think if he's going to, like right now, he gets lots of power play time, but he's still kind of the second man in Dallas, really. And then Toffoli is still good, so we'll go back to shots, Mike. As much as these guys bug me about shifts, it's like shots are important, and Toffoli, he's pretty consistent with the number of shots he puts out. So that's my opinion, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, like I said, my angle is on the dynasty thing. Is if they're thinking long term, then yeah, because Klingberg and Toffoli, well, Toffoli's having a decent season for being in Montreal. If he's on another team, is he going to be better? There's like rumors he's going back to LA. They're not exactly a high scoring team either, and he'll be more for depth than anything. So, and yeah, Klingberg, depending on where he goes, his value could go up again. He could be a depth guy in Florida for all we know, like for the next couple of years. So McTavish is so far what I've read, slated to be either the first or second line center in Anaheim in the next couple of years. And I don't know how McMichael is trending, but if it's dynasty and long term, I think I'd do it.
I think I would if it was McTavish and somebody else.
Yeah, I'm not sold on McMichael.
Yeah, to me, I think he's going to be a third line winger that you always want to be a second line winger, but he's just going to bounce around and everybody's going to want him to be that second line winger, and he's just not going to be. That's just my feeling on him watching him, but could be wrong.
Okay.
Oh, Capitals are getting older by the day. Like they are one of the oldest teams in the NHL, so you're going to need some people to fill in.
Yeah, I think he fills in, but I don't think he does much when he gets there.
That's very possible.
I think he's better on a third line on a good team.
Okay. Mike, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, the things that kind of stand out for me from McMichael so far is that the Capitals have had a lot of injuries this year, and he's still been pretty much a bottom 6 guy for them. And more importantly, he has not cracked the power play. That's with extended absences from Backstrom and Oshie. He's not made it on either power play unit for any extended amount of time. And, I checked the contract status real quick when I was reviewing these notes, and there's nobody leaving Washington this summer. So there's no room for McMichael. Like on an injured team, he's been the third line left wing / center. He gets moved around a bit. What's going to happen when everyone's healthy?
Yeah.
Because I think even today, like Sniffles there or whatever his name is,
Sniffles.
first line left wing.
Shoot.
Like Michael wasn't. So, I mean, if you're gonna put him there ahead of your first round pick, that says something. So.
Snively, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good soundbite. Thanks, Tyler.
Oh man.
When you tweeted that today, that was the first thing that came into my head.
Sniffles.
Sniffles playing up there. Good for him.
Good stuff. Okay, let's get on to the next question here. Curious about your thoughts on Brady Tkachuk's fantasy value with Norris and Batherson's long-term injuries. Should I trade him away for similar value? I'm in an ESPN league, meaning blocks 0.5 points, hits 0.1, and shots 0.1 are rewarded. He has 2.2 points per game right now.
0.5 for blocks.
0.5.
That's impressive.
Let's see. It's a big blocks league.
That's a lot of points.
Got to get those blocks.
I'd hold.
Year, I'm gonna lose it.
I would hold Tkachuk here. I don't know what
Agreed.
the plan was, if he's looking to trade Tkachuk away or what, but if you look at Tkachuk's production, it's a small sample size, but in the games with Norris and Batherson missing, Tkachuk has the same point production on a per game level.
Yeah, he's a driver of play, right? I mean,
yeah. So he's doing fine, without them. I think the only worrisome point here is that Ottawa's power play has been awful since Norris and Batherson have been out. It's gone from 19% success to 8%. 8% is historically horrible for any team in the NHL. But the kind of silver lining there is, this is not great to say, but it's just reality. Tkachuk has never been a great power play driver in fantasy hockey. If you look at his numbers, it's always been shots, hits, and, goals and assists. He's never been a big power play points guy. So Ottawa sucking at the power play is not going to, really crush his season from a fantasy perspective.
yeah, and I think too, they're not really long term. Like Batherson and Norris are going to be back before fantasy playoffs are done. So if you can be patient, and like you said, doesn't really matter anyway. But I mean, he's still playing with Stützle and was it Ennis or who was on the top line there with those two? But either way,
yeah,
he's got some serviceable.
I think Sanford
lines.
played a few games up there also, but yeah, Ennis has been the main guy.
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry too much about Tkachuk. And back to the Marchand thing, like who are you going to replace him with? Because it's hard to replace the coverage for hits and for blocks, not blocks, PIMs, shots and goal production, or point production. Okay. What are your thoughts on Ryan Hartman? He's been slumping. He's line 1, power play 2. Someone dropped him in our league. Minnesota has a favorable schedule with lots of games remaining. Worth dropping for Jesper Bratt.
I would.
Yep.
For
For
Bratt,
Bratt, yes.
I don't know. I don't know about anybody else, but for Bratt, yes.
Okay, Bruce, you're the Minnesota guy here. So what's your take on it?
It's kind of my dilemma too on this. I've got Hartman in one league too, and his production has dropped off a cliff here in the past 7 or 8 games. So it's
Would you drop
same with
him
Eric
for
Sinek.
Bratt?
They've I've got Brad on one of the teams. Yeah,
Oh, this
I
is a
already
real
have him.
dilemma then.
But
So the question was
Brad's
actually
hurt
submitted
right
by
now
Bruce.
too.
Yes.
So
I thought about submitting a question once.
Bruce. Thanks for listening,
Yeah.
Bruce.
no problem. Got to fill in something somewhere, right? Well, the other thing is Brad is hurt now too. So
he's day to day, right? I don't think it's long term.
Is he day to day?
I kind of hummed and hawed on that one because he's just about a point per game, and Mike going back to the Minnesota Wild sounds like that team as a whole is going to regress a little bit. Hartman, to your point, Bruce, his point production has fallen off a cliff. And maybe Mike, you have some input on it, but New Jersey seems to be scoring a bit more lately. And they're going to get Dougie Hamilton back here soon too.
Yeah, they'll get Hamilton back. That'll be a nice boost for them. I'm kind of more worried about the Hartman side. I don't like him right now as a fantasy, as someone to own in fantasy leagues. He went from 28 points in his first 31 games, and now he only has 5 points in his most recent 12 games. I picked 12 because that's when Matthew Boldy came into the realm for the Wild, and Matthew Boldy took the job on the first power play unit from him, and Hartman's shot production has dropped from 3.4 shots per game to just 2.4 shots per game. So I definitely think Hartman is replaceable here. I confess to not knowing enough about Bratt right now to say if he's the right guy for the swap, but I think Hartman needs to be swapped out.
Okay. All right, and that is it for Ask the Hacks this week, guys. Thanks to all of our listeners for submitting questions. Continue sending them in as they come to you. Send us an email, fantasyhockeyhacks@gmail.com, or just hit us up on Twitter at FHHacks or on Instagram at fantasyhockeyhacks. And with that, we're going to move on to Tyler's favorite part of the show, our DraftKings ad read. As a member, see you later, buddy. As a member of the Hockey Podcast Network, the Fantasy Hockey Hacks podcast is a proud partner of DraftKings. Hoops fans, the latest offer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is too good to pass up. I'm talking about the 360 Windmill Good. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still take your shot at a big payday. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy basketball contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus, minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Tennessee, call or text the TN Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE, HOPENY, 467-369. And that's all we got, guys.
Who do you call in Alberta?
Boy, I do not know.
You got a number. Give me the number. Give me the number.
Oh, yeah. So there it is. There's DraftKings. Be sure to sign up, guys. I've made a little bit of cash on DraftKings myself playing DFS, but we don't have
Maybe
sportsbook
Tyler
here. So.
should take some advice.
Listen to the show, man.
call
Just
you
listen to the show. We'll give you plenty of advice.
I'll be your
I'll
therapist.
call you after.
All right. Let's move on to Edge Work, the segment where we do the work to give you the edge in your fantasy hockey leagues. Doing the NHL schedule for Week 18. And, guys, we're going to try and rip through this fairly quick because we're already at an hour and 18 minutes. So,
guys.
Yeah, we've been having lots of fun here.
Half of that was waiting for John to actually
Right?
show up. So.
Unbelievable.
I think his forehead was here for about
It
5
was.
minutes, but
Yeah.
The mobile app sucks.
All right. So, yeah, we're kind of doing our best impression of Spit and Chicklets tonight, but we'll just get through this here in a reasonable fashion. So, what you need to know for Week 18, the next week's schedule features 46 NHL contests and provides balance throughout the week. The minimum number of games played on any one day is 4. Tuesday and Thursday will be particularly busy with 9 and 10 games respectively. The Minnesota Wild, who Mike just showed a ton of love for, need to be on the radar for fantasy managers next week as they play all 4 of their games on light days or off days. Light days being fewer than 50% of teams playing, which is generally Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Other teams of note that play all or the majority of their games on light days include Edmonton, Chicago, Winnipeg, Carolina, Florida, and Las Vegas. So Monday 4 games, Tuesday 9, Wednesday 4, Thursday 10, Friday 4, Saturday 7, and Sunday 8. And one team next week has the rare 5-game schedule. That's the Edmonton Oilers. So, boys, we'll be watching a lot of Oilers hockey next week. Yeah, I don't know if I can handle that much disappointment in my life.
I can.
Yeah,
I'm used to it.
According to Left Wing Lock, Mike, the strength of schedule is +7 for next week. So it's I would call it a fairly neutral. Well, we want minus. We want negative numbers. We want more favorable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's bad.
Yeah. It's not
Isn't
bad.
that the Oilers' goals against for the upcoming week?
I'm just
Thanks for
gonna
chiming in.
throw
That's
something out there and have Tyler agree to it.
So anyway, 5-game week, which is great. They play San Jose, who's 3-4-3 in their last 10. Los Angeles, who's 5-3-2. Anaheim, who's 4-4-2. Winnipeg, who's 3-5-2, and Minnesota, who's 8-1-1. So, I mean, we've talked with the Oilers lots. It's kind of been a tale of 2 seasons. They started out 16-5, and then they won 2 of their next 15 games. They're brutal. But hopefully things have kind of turned around here with Jay Woodcroft behind the bench. So, some players to target or consider for next week would be Kyler Yamamoto, Jesse Puljujarvi, Evan Bouchard, Cody Ceci, Mike Smith, or Mikko Koskinen. Let's go on to teams of 4 games. We got the Minnesota Wild, as we mentioned. Their schedule is a +10. Strength of schedule is a +10.
That's bad.
That's not great. Yeah, it's not as favorable. Thank you, Tyler. Good point.
I'm catching on. Yeah. Okay, I'll mute myself again.
You've got it, buddy. This is good. I'm glad you're chiming in. This is perfect. And they've been the league's second best team since January 1st, posting a points percentage of .803 and scoring at a rate of 3.92 goals for per game played. So, Mike, I mean, my points seem more valid before we kind of destroyed the Wild here, but I think they still have some value for next week based on their schedule. That third line in particular, I think, is good. So Fiala, Boldy, and Frederick Goudreau.
Oh yeah, those guys have been outstanding.
I think Fiala's 12-game point streak ended, but then he was right back at it again here recently. He had a 2-point game, I think. So I'm not quite sure how he isn't owned more. I think he's 70 or 75% owned. Surprising. I'm not going to get into all the details here just in the interest of time, but players to consider there: Kevin Fiala, Marcus Foligno, which I think he's on suspension, right, guys? He got 2 games for that. So
Yeah.
Joel Eriksson-Ek, Frederick Goudreau, Matt Boldy, Alex Goligoski, Jonas Brodin, and Kaapo Kähkönen. And this next one, Tyler, I hate to say it, but teams with 3 games, the Calgary Flames, they've got a great schedule at -27.
That's good.
That's good.
That
Mike,
is
you can
good.
attest to that.
That's excellent.
But they're absolutely rolling. 8-2 in their last 10. Might be 9-1 now, I think, after yesterday's game. But they're scoring at a rate of 3.6 goals for per game since January 1st. They've got matchups with Columbus, who's 6-4-0 in their last 10, Anaheim 4-4-2, and Seattle, who's 5-5-0. I would keep them on your radar for sure, particularly that line of Andrew Mangiapane, Michael Backlund, and Blake Coleman. They've been good lately. Noah Hannafin, I think we're going to talk about 1 or 2 of them in the waiver wire ads here. Noah Hannafin's been really good lately. We'll talk about him too. And that covers it for the Calgary Flames. Next, we got the New York Islanders. Again, -27 on the strength of schedule using the Left Wing Lock website or our strength of schedule tool. It's good. It's good. You like that. You like the Islanders. You like Calgary. They have good schedules for next week.
Yep.
They're taking on Buffalo, who's 3-5-2 in their last 10. Boston, who's 5-4-1, and Montreal, who is 1-7-2 in their last 10. So take a look at Josh Bailey, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, Oliver Wahlstrom, Anthony Beauvillier, and Noah Dobson. Teams of 2 games, the Washington Capitals. Not quite as good, Tyler, at -7. But Ovi did return from COVID protocol on Sunday, and they have it's a somewhat favorable schedule. They've got games against Nashville and Philly. Nashville's 4-4-2 in their last 10, and Philly is 2-7-1. Washington took game 1 of the season series with Nashville, which was a 5-3 win on December 29th. Eller, Orlov, and Hagel all chipped in that game and are widely available. So take a look at Lars Eller, Carl Hagelin, Dmitry Orlov, Justin Schultz, and Vitek Vanacek. And the last one here is the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have one game on the schedule for next week against the New Jersey Devils. They've got a -31 rating on the strength of schedule tool. I think they've actually... It should be a win, but they've split the season series. They actually lost 5-3 on November 20th. And, if Hamilton's back, I mean, that's even more ammo for New Jersey. Be interesting to see how that one plays out. But some players to consider there: Alex Killorn, Anthony Cirelli, Matthew Joseph, Corey Perry, and Ryan McDonough. Mike, any other thoughts on the schedule for next week that we should maybe point out to listeners?
No.
Okay. All right. No.
Negative is better.
Negative is better. Yeah. Tyler, just follow that strength of schedule tool, buddy, and maybe your gambling will look a little nicer.
I'm gonna check it out.
Good plan.
Okay. So the boys and I have decided that I'm going to talk a little bit less in this podcast if we can help it, and we're going to just try and keep it casual, and we're going to have sort of a conversation here on the waiver wire targets for Week 18. I'll kick it off, and then Bruce, I'll go to you, and you can pick one of these guys you want to talk about, and we'll roll from there. So the first guy here is Brandon Hagel, Chicago left wing, right wing, eligible, 4% rostered. Chicago's got 4 games on the schedule for next week, and Hagel's been getting time on a line with Doc and DeBrincat and on power play 1. He's a legitimate top 6 option for Chicago. He's got 26 points and 14 goals in 42 games. He's playing a career high 17 minutes a game or just over. His individual shooting percentage is a point of concern. It's 19.4%, but no other real red flags at this time. And like I said, they play 4 games on the schedule. So do I get a yay or a nay on Brandon Hagel for next week, guys?
Yeah.
That was super convincing.
You get it. Yeah.
That was Bruce's lukewarm. Okay, so vote of confidence on this one, 2 stars out of 5. Great. Okay, Bruce, take it away. Who do you like?
Oh, I'm going to go with Jacob Verana.
Oh, of course you did.
Of course. Why not, right? So he's been out for a while with shoulder surgery, but before he was out on shoulder surgery, he had 11 points, 8 goals in 11 games played. He played on the Capitals team. He's kind of stuck like Michael is right now. He's stuck behind everybody. But since he's been traded to Detroit, he's played top six power play, and he was almost a point per game at the end of last season. So he should slot in there nicely, and I think continue to produce once he's back healthy again here, hopefully within the next couple weeks.
Yep. I like it, Bruce. I'll give you a 5-star vote of confidence on that one. I'll be interested actually to see where he does play when he comes back. Like, he was playing on the top line for however many games he was last season when he was acquired.
I think they'll ease him back in. He'll play lower in the lineup to start with, and then as he gets more comfortable, they'll slowly move him back up.
Yep.
I thought I read somewhere that Zadina's name has been tossed around as possible trade bait, which would open up some room on that top line, I guess, or second line for Verana when he gets back.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
He's
going to play in the top 6 eventually, right? I think like come fantasy playoff time, he's going to be in the top 6 and very likely on the top power play. Okay. Good stuff. Tyler, I'm going to go to you next. Who do you like on this list here, forwards?
I'm completely unprepared because I didn't read this beforehand, so I'm going to go off the board. I know you're all shocked about that.
Not shocked.
I think Cole Caulfield's worth a look. I know we talked about him earlier a little bit, even with Mike mentioning that he moved up to the first line today. 2 games before today, he had a goal in each game, 2 shots on goal. 18 minutes tonight, he was -3, which was obviously not good. But I think as the season kind of winds down, especially for them, pressure's off, and if he's going to play on that first line, he could probably put up some goals. And if he's actually going to get some ice time and not play 13 or 15 minutes and closer to 18, he's definitely worth a look.
Get those garbage time points.
Garbage time.
Yep. Okay, I like that one. Way to go off the board. Maybe you should just not read the notes ever.
I never do, so this isn't a special thing. So
Perfect. Fantastic. All right, John, we'll go to you again. We haven't heard much from you at the show since you were gone for half of it. So take it away, buddy. Who do you like?
I really like Dylan Strome. The time he's playing with Kane and Kubalik, since January 4th, he's been over a point per game, and he's got 4 games next week. So I think he's due for some good fantasy value there. And just looking at his minutes, earlier in the season, he was averaging like 11, 12, 13 minutes. And now he's consistently playing over 15 and up to, I think there's one game in here where he played over 20. Yeah, against Colorado on the 28th there, he played 20-36. So he's averaging like 16, 17, 18 minutes a game almost. And
yeah, and with Jonathan Toews out of the lineup, he's been getting
Absolutely.
more time too, obviously. And Doc's been having a down year.
oh yeah, he's been trash.
Yeah. No, Dylan Strome's been good.
that's a player that I think would look pretty good on Draisaitl's wing on second line with Kane.
Strome.
I wouldn't say no to that.
Then you
Or next to McDavid since they played together in Erie.
Yeah, but then you can move Yamamoto down to the third line, which is where he should be since he doesn't actually score goals ever.
Weren't you guys
valid
giving me
points.
heck for saying I
Valid
wanted Strome on the Oilers, and you guys were all like, "Oh no."
I don't.
That was the other
Oh.
Strome.
Oh no, I don't
the
want
other
to talk about the other one.
The other
Yeah,
one
the other
was
one's
already
trash.
Well, and he's gonna get a boatload of money.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Strome. Yeah. Okay.
Good for him.
Okay. No, I like that one too, John. Obviously. Mike, we'll send it to you. Who do you like on this list here, Fords?
Best for last.
Or feel free to go off the board too. Feel free to go off the board too if there's something else you like.
Let's see. I guess
He did.
Gustav Nyquist looks okay to me on this list.
Okay.
Probably the only thing I am not thrilled about with Nyquist is the low shot production. He comes in at just 1.22 shots per game, which is a little bothersome for me. When you combine that with a high shooting percentage, long term, those things make me nervous. But I think for just kind of a 1 week pickup, I like Nyquist here.
Yeah, I agree with that one. And he's actually got 17 points in his last 19 games played. Like, you hate the shot production, but he's been putting up some points regardless.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I like that one. I'm going to go to Nico Hischier.
I like that one too.
I think he's been really good the last it's one game on the schedule, right? So that's maybe a guy you pick up and you replace later on in the week, but or maybe you just hold on to him, as a streamer week to week. But he's got 5. I think he scored again today, didn't he? So I think he's got 6 points, in 4 games played. 5 of them being goals, I believe. And his team his team's even strength shooting percentage is 6.5%, and his IPP is 43.8. So probably some improved production coming from him. He's on pace for 57 points, and he's playing a career best 1850 time on ice.
Yeah, it was neat. The Devils put Hischier and Hughes on the same line
Yes,
for the most
I saw
recent
that.
game. I don't know if it was Bratt's absence that prompted them to do that, but those two things kind of coincided. But it was interesting to see that makeup for the first line in New Jersey.
Yeah, if that sticks, he sure's got staying power beyond this week where he has 1 game, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay. We got a couple left here. Tyler, anyone on that list you want to go to?
Just completely off guard there, but I'd say Michael Bunting, just based on his line mates mostly. Just who he's playing with, he'll end up getting some kind of leftover points with them.
Okay. No, I like Bunting too. He's developed real chemistry with Austin Matthews, right? Yeah. For our listeners, Tyler just had this deer in the headlights look. I totally just caught him off guard there, but it's all good.
I was looking.
Just making sure you're alive. That's all.
I'm here.
Okay, good. 3 games on the schedule for Michael Bunting, playing with Matthews Marner, power play 1. He's on pace for 55 points actually. So, and his shooting percentage, individual shooting percentage too, is only at 14%, not 27 or whatever it was, 26 last season. So probably a little bit more sustainable moving forward. And Bruce, I'll send it back to you here. We got 2 more forwards there. Who do you like?
Oh, I'll take Mangiapane.
Did you spit before you said that? Or?
Hey, he finally scored a goal at home the other night, so he can actually score in home games now, as well as away games.
He can.
Wow.
Wow. So like it says, he started the season on a house in fire. He's cooled off a bit, which is reflected in his ownership percentage, which has dropped to 58%. Had a goal against the Islanders the other night at home. He's had 9.6 goals in his last 8 games over the same span. And Calgary's second line, so that's Mangiapane, Coleman, and Backlund. Sorry, got that wrong again. Has been really good with a 66.13. That's Corsi 4
percentage, yep.
And then 72.73 goals percentage. I can't do all these acronyms. It drives me crazy.
Start
Too many acronyms.
Wowies.
The Wowies.
The Wowies.
So
yep. No, he's been good.
Anyway.
That line's been good.
Yeah.
I like him. Good call, Bruce. John, you can go through Schmaltz there. What do you think about Schmaltz?
I had looked
Schmaltzy.
up the wrong guy. You know,
I'm not the only one.
I was like, man, this guy's doing pretty good. It's like exactly what Bruce is talking about here. Because, yeah, I accidentally typed in Mangiapane instead of Schmaltz. But give me 2 shakes here, and I will have this already. But, yeah, no, Schmaltz has been playing pretty well lately. And, playing with Keller and Boyd on the PP1 as well. And he's had, 9 points in his last 9 games. Arizona, poor team, but they get a little bit of offense out of those guys. Unfortunately, they only play the 2 games next week versus the Kings and versus Dallas. So he'd be a bit of a streamer there at the end of the week. But, definitely a good guy to look at. He's played well.
And Keller's been playing well too. I think he was on I can't remember. It was like a 6 or an 8 game point streak there for a while, and then he missed 1 game, and then he's back on another streak here. So Schmaltz playing with Keller, I mean, you almost just get points there through osmosis.
Yep. Basically how it works.
Okay. Yep. Let's move on to defensemen here, and I'm gonna go back to this one because you guys, we've talked about it in the past. You guys thought it was nuts, but Oliver Ekman-Larsson in Vancouver.
You're nuts.
45% rostered only. He's got 6 points, 2 goals in his last 4 games, playing nearly 25 minutes a game and .312 on the power play. Now, I know that coincides with Hughes going into COVID protocol, but I think for a guy like your confidence is important, right? And so if you can actually prove to yourself you're capable of putting up some points, you didn't forget how to play hockey, I think this could be good for him, and being less than 50% owned. It's maybe a player you want to look at. There's lots of room for aggression in his game. His individual shooting percentage is just 3.6%. His team's even strength shooting percentage with him on the ice is 5.4%, and his IPP is just 36.8. So lots of good things there. Lots of options. So I would give him a look. Even with Hughes back, he could potentially return some value, I think. But Mike, we'll go to you next. I think we got a couple more defensemen there.
Oh, I was going to ask a question real quick. Does anybody know when Hughes is coming back? I have him listed as going into the protocol on the 7th. And I think He caught it
I
in
read-
the United States. Is that right? Like, or he tested positive in the USA or whatever, and so that's a 10-day automatic wipeout.
I read earlier today something about he's joining the team on Thursday.
Okay,
wherever they're going to be on Thursday, I think. So that's kind of
that's the 10-day mark. It's Thursday. So okay, good.
Yeah. So he'll be back. I mean, obviously, that impacts how you look at Oliver Ekman-Larsson. But if he's putting up those kind of numbers, I just think.
I like him for this week, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, and then of those other two guys you have here, Mike, is there one you like in particular?
Yeah, I'm liking Noah Dobson on the Islanders here. Even longer term, I think the Islanders still have a kind of a favorable schedule down the stretch. So I like him as a longer term option if you had to hold him for some reason. He's a half a point per game kind of guy. Out of all those defensemen, I think he's generating the most shots on that list per game. So I like that. Decent block shot numbers. So yeah, Dobson, I would like him as my number 2 there after Ekman-Larsson.
Okay. And Bruce will let you cover off the last D-man for us.
So Noah Hannafin for Calgary. So he's currently rostered at 7%. The former Hurricane is on pace for his career best 43 points. He's been particularly hot of late with 10 points, 2 goals in his last 10 games. Hannafin has been playing top 4 minutes for Calgary alongside Rasmus Anderson is receiving the most, whatever that acronym is, and power play time on ice. There we go. When I highlight it, it should just expand out into the full thing, just so I don't screw that up. Calgary is 8-2 in their last 10 games, and since January 1st, has been scoring at a rate of 3.60 GF/.
Goals for per game. I know that one.
Yeah. Tyler's got that one.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yep.
And with the league's best, second best possession metrics at 56.1.
Fuck, we are hacks, eh?
Hashtag
absolutely.
we are hacks.
Absolutely.
That's on me, Bruce. So I'm being a bad teammate there. I should have thrown the legend in there for you just to sort out all those acronyms for you. But we'll make sure to have that for you for next episode.
Shoot.
Jesus.
And too, just even the Calgary defense, like no one has really secured that first power play spot yet, right? So it's supposed to be Rasmus Anderson, but like their defense is scoring at a pretty consistent pace between Anderson, Hannafin. Is it Shillington?
Shillington, yeah.
Shillington, yeah.
Shillington? I always want to say Kylington because it's a K and not an S. But
Sweet.
they all seem to be fairly consistent in scoring, so they've got a deep defense that way.
Yeah, let's not try to compliment Calgary too much here, guys. I mean, they're good,
That's
but
enough.
I mean, they're not
This has
that
been good, guys.
Well, I hate to say it. I was going to say the same thing. Like Noah Hannafin, he's been playing really well as of late. And with that schedule they got for next week, yeah, he's definitely a good option. I know I picked him up a couple hours ago in my league, so.
Okay.
It's a minus 27
It is.
strength of
That
schedule.
is good.
And that's good.
That's good. They got a nice schedule for next
John
week.
read the show
Tyler,
notes
you're
before he
learning.
made that pickup.
Look at me learning.
All right, guys. Good stuff there on the D-man. In the interest of time, because we're already an hour and 43 minutes here, we're going to go to goaltenders. We got 3 here on the list. For our listeners, I'm just going to let you know all of the details on these players and just expanded details are included in the show notes. So go to the website, fantasyhockeyhacks.com. You can check it out all there. What I'm going to tell you, we got 3 goaltenders here: Jeremy Swayman, Peter Mrazek, and Cal Peterson. Swayman has 3 games on the schedule for next week. Mrazek has 3 games on the schedule, and as does Cal Peterson. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go around the horn. Mike, out of those 3 goaltenders, who do you like most for next week?
Mrazek.
Mrazek, okay.
I was going to say, none of them.
I'm going off the board. Okay, Bruce, who do you like on that list of goaltenders?
I'm going to go with Swayman on this one.
Okay. Tyler?
I was going to say Swayman, but just with Bergeron and Marchand missing, I'd probably go with Mrazek.
I'm going to go
John?
with Mrazek as well, even though Cal Peterson is guaranteed to win against at least one team next week with his game against the Oilers. So, not the Arizona game, but the Oilers game. But yeah, no, I'd say Mrazek.
I think Mrazek's probably the safe bet there. He's going to get at least one game for next week, but I might even just lean Cal Peterson because he's actually been playing great. He's got a 6-1-0 record over his last 7 games, and like you said, Arizona, a winnable game. They beat Edmonton earlier in the year 5-1, so it's not like the Kings can't beat Edmonton. But they have a tough matchup against Vegas too. So I mean, I think either guy's an option, but Mrazek may be a safer bet. Okay, that does it for edge work. That's all the waiver wire pickups you need to take a look at for the upcoming week. Mike, thank you so much for joining us again for another episode. It's fun as always. We really appreciate you having you on. I know the listeners enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, it was a good time again.
Yeah, I mean, we ran a bit long, so thanks for sticking it out with us and putting up with John's forehead for a while. But it was good.
My apologies for that one. Next
That's
week
why I
we'll
wore
have
a
the
hat
system
tonight.
up and running properly. So my new mic and camera should be in next week. So.
Okay, good stuff. And
Devin, make sure you put the legend in the show notes too.
I'll put the legend in the show notes for everyone that needs to know it.
Need the legend for next week.
Okay, and then for next week, guys, we may have to make some adjustments on when we record. It is a long weekend, so for our listeners, we may or may not have the episode out on Monday, maybe Tuesday, or we'll sort that out. But just expect a potential change. Please continue submitting your questions for Ask the Hacks. We enjoy that segment. We like the interaction with you guys, and get entered to win a free subscription to the Left Wing Lock app. Honestly, full disclosure, I use that app every day when I'm setting lineups, goaltenders, whatever. I take a look at it. Mike, you guys do a great job making sure it's up to date and current and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that one. If you guys will get in touch with us, check us out on social media at FH Hacks on Instagram, at Fantasy Hockey Hacks, and our website, fantasyhockeyhacks.com. With that, guys, I think we'll call it a day. It's been a long episode. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye, Felicia.
Good night, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Take care.